Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in my last video, I shared about my journey through a quarter-life crisis, feeling extremely lost and confused, but eventually getting to a place where I found clarity and confidence to pursue a new career that truly aligned with who I am. If you haven't seen that video yet, be sure to check it out. That video was more focused on my personal journey. This video is going to focus on 6 specific things that really helped me to navigate my life crisis and get out of it feeling a lot more sure of who I am and what I want to do with my life. So the first thing that really helped me get through my quarter life crisis is to reflect. Reflect and release everything. I know sometimes it can be easier to just kind of ignore our emotions and convince ourselves that we're okay, but I'm a firm advocate that in order to really get through something in a meaningful way, we have to be honest with ourselves and really dwell in that pain and that confusion or whatever else we're feeling. One practical thing that I do to help myself reflect is journaling. I find that giving myself space to write out my raw thoughts and emotions is extremely helpful because it helps kind of expose things that I haven't been talking about, haven't been letting myself really feel. And if I don't let it out, then I really don't know where I'm at. And if I don't know where I'm at, I don't know where I can go. When we're going through something as big as a life crisis or even a transition or a change, it's really important to be aware of how we're feeling and the thoughts that we're having. So if you're going through a season where you're kind of confused or just figuring out next steps, I really challenge you to pause, sit back, and reflect. Really dig deep and be honest with yourself, because only in that depth and honesty will new seeds be planted and grow new roots. There are a lot of questions that I find helpful for me when I'm journaling, but the place that I usually always start with is this: what emotions have you been feeling lately? In your journal, use words or visuals to describe and elaborate on them as best as you can. Secondly, are there any circumstances, memories, or thoughts that might be contributing to those emotions? What might those be? Remember, journaling is a safe space where you can write out your thoughts without anyone reading them. And so I really encourage you to be as honest as you can. Just to give you an example of just how raw my thoughts were during my quarter life crisis, I'm going to read a few examples for you. Lately, I've been feeling lethargic, melancholic, and unmotivated. Even though I have a lot of unique passions and gifts, I feel like I don't know how to use them in a productive way. I know I love listening, understanding, and encouraging others, but I just don't know how to package it in a career. Or maybe I know how, but I'm too afraid to actually try to make it happen. A second snippet. I'm feeling down today. I feel alone. I'm so emotionally exhausted. I need a therapist. I'm feeling sad about myself and who I am. I feel pretty pathetic and don't know what to do with myself. The more sad I feel, the less I want to do anything. The less I do, the more sad I feel. What do I do? How do I help myself out of this? So as you can see in this second entry too, there's even parts where I'm just asking questions because I don't know. And that's a really freeing thing about journaling. You don't have to have all the answers. You can even just ask questions. You can just be raw with all the confusion and the questions that you have. And eventually, as you journal more things will come up and be exposed, and you'll find answers that you weren't even aware of in the beginning. So the second thing that really helped me through my life crisis is to clarify. Clarify what your values are. It's one thing to reflect, to meet yourself where you're at, and really make space to dwell in your emotions. But it's another thing to then take those reflections and really ask yourself, what do I want to do now? Where do I want to go? Who do I want to be? This is where you start to explore and really clarify what your personal values are. From a very young age, we all have values that are passed down to us, whether it's by our family, our friends, popular culture, media, school. But once we reach adulthood, we now have the opportunity to really decide what values we want to uphold, what values we want to let go of, and what new values we want to take on. Your values are the things that are most true to who you are and what you think is important in the way that you live and work. They are the why behind what you do. They are what drives your actions and your goals. They help determine what your priorities are and where you're willing to compromise. At the end of the day, what do you want your life to be about? What makes you feel the most engaged, the most safe, the most alive? One time I was chatting with my friend Tiffany, who's a wellness coach, and she asked me a question that really helped me to just hone in on what my values are. And the question is this: what do you give yourself permission for? When she first asked me that question, I was like, ooh, that's a good question. And then That day, I reflected on it and I was just mind blown. I realized that I rarely give myself permission to do anything because I'm just so busy operating out of what should I do? What should I do so that people can be proud of me? What should I do to live up to society's standards and expectations? So here I challenge you to fill in the blank. I give myself permission to... Just to give you a few examples from my own life, here are the things that I decided to give myself permission for. I give myself permission to prioritize my mental health before finding a new career, do whatever job I want, regardless of people's judgments or perceptions, express what I want or need, spend my life encouraging people and empowering them to live a meaningful life, value living a life where my career aligns deeply with my passions, even if other people don't think that it's practical. Now remember, not everyone's values look like this. Everyone's differs depending on their upbringing, their personality, their priorities. For instance, I have loved ones who value stability, and they actually enjoy working a job that is separate from their hobby or their passion because they prefer to keep the two separate. So don't let others define or shape your values for you. Don't just follow someone else's values because it sounds good. You have to identify the values that are truest to you so that you can fight for them and live a life that is most aligned to who you are. So after I determined the values that drive me, the third thing that I did is come up with options. Start brainstorming different options that align with those values. Visualize your life in each of those options. What are the pros and cons of each? What are some ways that it might align with your values? What are some ways that those options might not align with your values? One thing to keep in mind too is if you notice yourself leaning towards an option that doesn't really align with your values, it might be helpful to ask yourself why you're not letting go of it. Could it be because it aligns with the expectations or values of your family or your peers? Are you holding on to it because of certain fears or worries that you might have? For me, I really wanted to try making a career out of creating encouraging content on YouTube, but I noticed myself constantly looking at customer service or HR jobs because I felt like they were just more practical, more stable, and if I got the job, I would be bringing in income right away. I had mindlessly adopted the values of people around me without really pausing to consider, do those values actually align with who I am? So once I filtered out the options of customer service and HR, what I was left with was kind of like three options. Either pursue a master's in counseling so that I could perhaps be a therapist, go to a program for life coaching to become a life coach, or pursue a YouTube channel. So you might want to ask yourself, based on the values that I have listed out, what are some options that would really align with this? If you have no idea, then that's when you want to start Googling and asking others and researching and just finding options online that might line up with what you want. So once I narrowed it down to 3 options, I did a lot of research, which brings me to my 4th point. Research. Research your options extensively. Sometimes career options sound really good and sound like a good fit until you really read up on the job descriptions or ask people about their experience, and then you realize, oh, actually, I think I had this ideal vision of that career in my head, but in actuality, that might not be a good fit. For me, I looked up YouTube videos and podcasts. I Googled articles of job descriptions. I also looked into what skills, experiences, or credentialing that I would need in order to do that option. Basically, just try to get a full understanding of what the job would actually entail, what compromises you'd have to make, if any, and if it would truly be the right fit for you. Okay, 5th thing, which was probably my favorite thing, the thing that really helped me get through my quarter-life crisis, it's to connect with people. Reach out to people in your community and just connect with them. I've learned that more often than not, people are more than happy to share their story and the lessons that they've learned. Sometimes I think back on these past 6 months of my quarter-life crisis and I wonder, how did I actually get through that? Because it was really rough. But when I really think about it, the main thing that comes to mind are all the people that I connected with that really touched my life, reminded me of who I am and what's important in life. For instance, I went to my friend for the intention of asking about his career journey and the transitions that he made, but instead, what I got out of that conversation was a reminder about the importance of mental health. He really encouraged me to take a step back and to think about the pain and the confusion that comes from transitioning out of a career that you've put your hopes in for so long. He also challenged me to really take a look at the burnout that I've been feeling and my search for worth and purpose. And it really gave me space to slow down and not rush that process of finding a new career before doing that internal work of healing my mental health. Another friend that I met with, I had intended to hear more about his career journey and the different types of jobs that he took, but instead what I got out of it was just this reminder. He reminded me that on average we work at least 40 hours a week in our jobs. So how important is it to find a job that you truly enjoy? Hearing him share about his value really helps me to realize that I value finding fulfillment in my job too. I also connected with another friend just to catch up because we were going through similar things, and unexpectedly she was able to connect me with her friend Anne, who actually has a career through social media and YouTube. In our conversation, I was really able to learn from her what a career on social media and YouTube really looks like and the challenges that come with it. Hearing her share about the pros and cons and just the genuine fulfillment she gets from being able to encourage people through YouTube really helped me to confirm that that's what I wanted to do, even if it was going to be filled with challenges. All this is to say that my growth, my healing, and my self-discovery did not happen in isolation. I intentionally reached out to people that I trusted and I asked them for help. I opened up to them about my story, and in turn I learned so much from them and felt so much less alone in the journey. So after I officially made up my mind to pursue a career in YouTube and social media, the last thing I did was just start. 1 year from now, you'll wish that you had started today. Based on the research that you've done on the career option that you've chosen, now it's time to start working on getting there. Whether it be taking relevant courses or building up particular skills or simply applying to those jobs, it's really important to put in that hard work now. For me, I started taking classes on Skillshare to learn more about social media marketing, filming, editing on Final Cut Pro, different cameras and lenses and the pros and cons of them, how they edit their videos, how they do their thumbnails, how they work the YouTube algorithm, audio and lighting, and the components of a good YouTube video. There's definitely a lot to it, and I really wouldn't be where I am now if I didn't put in that hard work of learning and researching and building necessary skills. I also noticed that your true feelings for the career option that you chose will really come out during this process. If it's something that feels right for you, you'll notice yourself getting super excited and pushing through even when it's hard. But if it doesn't feel like the right path, you might find yourself like secretly avoiding it or kind of pushing it off or just hoping it doesn't work out. And just remember, this is not a linear process. As much as I tried to really spell out my process in 6 simple steps, life is just not linear like that. I noticed that there were times I had to repeat certain steps or connect with more people or do more research or completely scratch out an idea that I thought I was really sure about. We have to remember that in this journey, there's always ups and downs. Times where we feel like we're moving forward, times where we feel like we're moving backwards, times where we feel like, man, I really overcame something. And then another moment, I'm like, what? I'm struggling with it all over again. But I think at the end of the day, the complexity of this process is what makes it really beautiful. Thank you so much for watching this video and just giving me the opportunity to share with you the things that really helped me get through my time of crisis and transition. If you resonated with this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're going through something similar and would like to connect, please feel free to leave a comment below, or you can even send me a DM. I'll have my Instagram in the description box below. I'm so excited to connect with you, and I'll see you in the next video.